Did you commit to another CPA review course that just isn't aligned with how you learn? Well, spilled milk, baby. In the world of accounting, only one figure matters, and that's the bottom line. So by investing in Universal CPA Review, you're investing in yourself, and we promise to do everything in our power to get you the ROI that you're looking for by obtaining your CPA license. We know that purchasing a CPA review course is an investment, and we also know that spending all that money on a program that hasn't worked out sucks, and we want to soften that blow. Our Spilled Milk program will allow you to commit to Universal's Visual Learning CPA Review program at a steep discount. So reach out to info@universalcpareview.com to learn more about our program and what discounts you qualify for. Okay, so that's the bulk of it, but now we're going to talk about some additional paragraphs that can be issued in a non-issuer unmodified audit report. Okay, so the additional paragraphs that the exam loves to test consist of both the emphasis of matter paragraph and the other matter paragraph. So you can think of these as sort of this, hey, by the way, paragraph. Okay, so we're telling financial statement readers of Galbraith Dental Inc., right, the folks over at the bank thinking about making Galbraith that loan, we think that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, right? There are no financial misstatements, but hey, by the way, there are a few matters that we think you should be aware of. Some of these matters are more important than others, and they need to be emphasized. Okay, so an emphasis of matter paragraph is a matter that is discovered by the auditor. And while it is not enough to modify an opinion, it should still be emphasized. Okay, so the AICPA says that it is meant to draw users' attention to a matter or matters presented or disclosed in the financial statements that are of such importance that they are fundamental to users' understanding of the financial statements. Okay, so if you're asked a question related to an exact definition, that's going to be it. So very important to recognize that this is always associated with an unmodified opinion, right? Because again, we are telling financial statement readers everything is presented fairly, but hey, by the way, something you should know. Okay, so that information that is getting emphasized should be included here. Okay, so what information should the auditor be saying, hey, by the way, about? So there are a few primary reasons for issuing an emphasis of matter paragraph. So the primary reasons for issuing an emphasis of matter paragraph consist of the following. If there is a justified change in accounting principle. Okay, so for those of you who've sat for the FAR exam, this might jump out at you and scream accounting changes. You might remember that changes in accounting principle that are justified need to be made retrospectively. Okay, but no need to have PTSD for those of you that still have nightmares about the FAR exam. All we're saying here is that if Detective Lucy notices a change in accounting principle that is justified, it should be emphasized in this emphasis of matter paragraph. Okay, so an example could be a change in inventory methodology. Maybe Galbraith Dental has some inventory and they're selling some additional products and they changed it from FIFO to specific identification. Another good example could be changes in revenue recognition standards, right? Those are changes in accounting principle. But what's key is that they are changes that have to be justified. If for whatever reason you see that the change is not justified, then it is a departure from US GAAP reporting. And therefore, we're going to need to modify an opinion, and we need to remember that an emphasis of matter paragraph will be associated with this unmodified opinion. Another change could be due to a change in audit opinion. So put a little star next to this one because while generally a change in audit opinion will be disclosed in an emphasis of matter paragraph, it can also be disclosed in an other matter paragraph. Okay, so we'll talk about that in more robust detail. But a good example of this could be if, for example, we previously issued a modified opinion, and the auditor discovered that an error was made in their previous audit conclusion, and they need to now go back and change that audit opinion. This should be emphasized in this paragraph. Another reason that the emphasis of matter paragraph is primarily used is to emphasize special purpose frameworks. Okay, so this is another big one. The financial statement readers need to be aware of the fact that the auditor is saying that the client didn't use the accrual basis of accounting, right? Maybe they used a special purpose framework like the cash basis of accounting or the regulatory or tax basis of accounting. Okay, maybe that impacts how revenue is recognized. And they're saying that revenue is higher this year, and not because they earned more money, but because maybe they received it in advance from the client. Okay, so professional standards say that that is something that needs to be emphasized. Okay, and while those are the primary reasons for issuing an emphasis of matter paragraph in the auditor's unmodified opinion report, some additional reasons that an emphasis of matter paragraph can be used can include the following. an uncertainty related to the future outcome of unusually important litigation or regulatory action. Okay, so here maybe we're saying that Galbraith Dental Clinic was sued or is suing somebody. Maybe it's a patient. And this is pending litigation that is yet to be settled. Okay, so the result of the settlement could be big dollars, which could lead to the client potentially receiving a lot of cash. Or maybe Galbraith Dental Clinic is going to be paying a lot of cash, depending on the result of the settlement, and also who is suing them. That is information that financial statement readers are going to want to see. Okay, so it could be emphasized in this emphasis of matter paragraph, possibly a big deal. A significant subsequent event that occurs between the date of the financial statements and the date of the auditor's report. Right, let's say that the auditor, Detective Lucy, has come to her opinion, and she came to it as of the December 31st balance sheet date. But something happened in January before the audit report was released to financial statement readers. Okay, so something significant that is subsequent to the balance sheet date came to her attention. And again, it's related to the year-end financial statements. If that event that took place is significant, then it should be emphasized in the emphasis of matter paragraph. Okay, so maybe Galbraith was in the process of acquiring a large or small subsidiary in the current year. And maybe that subsidiary had a major impact to the year-end financial statements, but the transaction didn't settle until the subsequent period. Then that information should be emphasized in the audit report. Next up, we have a major catastrophe that has had or continues to have a significant effect on the entity's financial position or results of operations. Let's say that Galbraith Dental Clinic has clinics in an area that got hit by a tornado, and some of their assets got crushed. That is information that should be emphasized in an emphasis of matter paragraph in the audit report. And finally, significant transactions with related parties. This one can also be emphasized, right? We're saying that the client had a lot of transactions. Maybe they were major transactions with related parties. So let's say a sale was made from the client to one of its wholly owned subsidiaries. It could be to family members, right? What if Galbraith Dental Clinic only cleaned the teeth of family members? Not necessarily a reflection of how well the company's doing. So that is information that should be emphasized, all right? Crazy example, I know, but keep in mind the bigger picture here and what would be included in this paragraph. Okay, so we talked about the emphasis of matters paragraph. What's going on with this other matter paragraph? So emphasis of matter paragraphs are paragraphs that should be emphasized, meaning this is information associated with an unmodified opinion. However, this is additional information that we believe should be emphasized about Galbraith Dental Clinic, the non-issuer that we're auditing, okay? But there's also this additional information that should be disclosed, okay? But it's not important as what should be disclosed in the emphasis of matter paragraph. So it's not emphasized, but it is other information that we do want to say, hey, by the way, take note of this and that. Okay, so not as critical as what is reported in the emphasis of matter paragraph. And we also need to know where in the audit report this is going to get reported. So the other matter paragraph will always come after the emphasis of matter paragraph. Okay, so think of it this way. Anytime you're reading a document, could be the news, maybe a book, you are much more likely to read that first paragraph in the article or the first chapter in the book. Okay, so if we want to emphasize certain information, then that emphasis of matter paragraph should come first. Okay, so it's more important that it is read. So again, we're telling the readers of the audit report, hey, we're not going to modify the opinion, but take note of this and that. So what is this and that we speak of? Now, when it comes to the other matter paragraph, we find that candidates have this tendency to try to memorize what is disclosed within this paragraph. Okay, they think that that's enough, and the reality is that the audit exam might ask you where something related to these topics are reported in the audit report, but they might also ask you for more specific details about what specifically should be reported in this other matter paragraph. So instead of trying to memorize all the different topics that are listed out, we're going to think of the other matter paragraph as this index of sorts. Okay, so we're going to break out all the information in further detail, and this is going to be the miscellaneous information that the exam can really screw you up on. Okay, we need a 75% to pass the audit exam. I sometimes say that the first 70 points of the audit exam are easier to get than the next 5%. So think of what is listed out in the other matter paragraph as a big part of that 5%. Okay, so again, while we're going to do a high-level run-through of this list, I want you to take note, this list is something that we need to come back to as we continue to identify these topics throughout the rest of the course. All right, so other matter paragraphs. This is going to be required when any of the following occur. We talked about changes in audit opinion being disclosed in an emphasis of matter paragraph. There are some situations where the auditor can instead decide to disclose the change in audit opinion in an other matter paragraph. All right, comparative financial statements. if comparative financial statements are used where in the previous year the auditor conducted a review engagement or a compilation, and if those reports are presented in comparative form with the current year audited financial statements, then that information can be listed out in the other matter paragraph. Okay, another situation could be if comparative financial statements are used with financial statements that were unaudited from the prior period. Also acceptable to be listed out in the other matter paragraph. We're going to talk about alerts that are of restricted use. So if certain information has restricted use, right, say that certain information is only meant to be disclosed to management or the owners of the company, not necessarily to the financial statement readers, then we can list out the restricted use in that other matter paragraph. Okay, so when the auditor has elected to report on supplementary information, and if that information is presented in conjunction with the audit report rather than presented separately. Okay, so if the auditor is referring to required supplementary information, also going to be alerted in the other matter paragraph. If the financial statements in the prior year were audited by a predecessor auditor, right, maybe somebody that's not associated with Palmer CPA firm. Okay, so here we're saying that if another auditor or another CPA firm audited these financial statements in the prior period, right? This is an initial audit for us. When an auditor is reporting on compliance and the report is included in the auditor's report, if we have a component auditor, right? Maybe we are auditing a big company's entire financial statements, but we have another auditor from a different CPA firm auditing one specific element or one specific financial statement. And if we are making reference to that component auditor, we might do so in the other matter paragraph. And when the auditor identifies material inconsistencies prior to the audit report date, okay, so that's when the other matter paragraph is required to be used. There are additional situations that might also be included in the other matter paragraph. When the auditor is unable to withdraw from the engagement, even though there's a scope limitation, but they're still not allowed to depart from the engagement, right? Maybe it's mandated by law. The fact that they couldn't withdraw from the engagement would need to be disclosed or could be disclosed in the other matter paragraph. Right? So if law, regulation, or generally accepted practice requires that the auditor elaborates on matters that provide further explanation specific to the auditor's responsibility, they could do that in the other matter paragraph. All right. And or if the other matter paragraph does not address circumstances in which the auditor has the reporting responsibility that are in addition to the auditor's responsibility. Okay, so I know this is a very long list, but again, we're going to use this as an index, all right? This is very high level. This is not enough to understand this information in detail. Okay, so be mindful of that as we come back to this material throughout the rest of this course when we are breaking these miscellaneous topics out in further detail. Okay, so we talked about emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs. Those are going to be included in unmodified audit opinion reports for non-issuers. But we're no longer talking about non-issuers. We're talking about the audit for Boobaloo Inc., right? Those publicly traded companies. So we're talking about auditing issuers. So when auditing issuers, instead of including an emphasis of matter or other matters paragraph, we would include what's referred to very simply as an explanatory paragraph. So unqualified opinion reports will not break out this extra information into two separate paragraphs like unmodified opinion reports would. Okay, but in essence, explanatory paragraphs will operate in the same way. So they're going to be associated with otherwise clean opinions, right? Unqualified opinions for issuers. But we're also saying, hey, by the way, we're emphasizing specific matters that the auditor feels like financial statement readers should be aware of. Okay, so what are those matters? Well, the explanatory paragraph can include any of the following. If the auditor's opinion is based in part on the report of another auditor. If there is substantial doubt about the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Okay, so if we noticed in the unqualified opinion report, we didn't have a specific paragraph that is just delegated to going concern issues like we did for unmodified opinion reports for non-issuers. Okay, so hint, hint, this is just going to be disclosed in the explanatory paragraph. There has been a material change between periods in accounting principles or in the method of their application. Okay, so just like we would disclose justified changes in accounting principles in the emphasis of matter paragraph for unmodified opinions, right, those non-issuers, that would just be going in the explanatory paragraph. Okay, so certain circumstances relating to reports on comparative financial statements, right? Maybe in the prior year we issued a review report or we didn't audit the financial statements at all. Okay, but certain circumstances related to comparative financial statements, all you need to know would be going straight to the explanatory paragraph. Okay, selected quarterly financial data required by the SEC, if that has been omitted or has not been reviewed. Supplementary information required by the FASB, or any of the other financial reporting guidelines, and any other information in a document containing audited financial statements that are materially inconsistent with information appearing in the financial statements would go straight to the explanatory paragraph. Okay, so as you can see, this is a rather robust list. Do you need to memorize every single detail? No. Okay, but you should for now be aware of this stuff at a high level. All this miscellaneous information you need to also know in more comprehensive detail. But again, we're going to go through this throughout the remainder of this course, and we're going to revert back to this disclosure as we continue to grind through it. Okay, but for now, biggest takeaways is the format and the flow of these unmodified and unqualified opinion reports.